Welcome to the sixth episode of the podcast, and today we have a new guest.
Hello there. I'm Sigmund Freud, the Viennese doctor who's often dubbed the father of psychoanalysis. It's a title that feels both flattering and burdensome, as my ideas sprang from personal struggles as much as scientific curiosity.
Great. Maybe we can talk about these struggles and also about the curiosity you had.
My struggles were deeply personal. The loss of my infant brother Julius at age 3 left me with guilt and fears of rivalry that haunted my dreams and shaped my views on the unconscious. Curiosity drove me to medicine and then to exploring hysteria under Charcot in Paris, sparking my obsession with the mind's hidden layers.
I'm sorry for your brother.
Thank you. His loss at such a young age left a lasting mark, stirring early guilt that influenced my theories on sibling dynamics and the unconscious.
Yeah, do you think it was guilt or was it also fear of loss?
It was both. Guilt over my own fleeting jealousy toward Julius, mixed with a deep fear of loss that echoed in my later dreams and theories on mortality.
And do you think you have been fully aware of the situation and what happened?
No. As a child, I wasn't fully aware, only surfacing later through self-analysis and dreams.
Yeah, that was the school of thought you were inventing, let's say.
Yes, that early experience fueled my creation of psychoanalysis, a school of thought delving into the unconscious to uncover hidden emotions.
Why do you think these emotions are hidden? Isn't it obvious somehow?
No, they're not obvious at all. The mind hides these through repression, a protective mechanism to shield us from painful truths like guilt or fear that could overwhelm our conscious self. In my view, this burying allows us to function daily, but it surfaces in dreams or slips, revealing the unconscious as the true guardian of our emotional secrets.
So you call them emotional secrets, and I would call them memories, maybe. Why do you think the body needs to store these memories and then hide them in day-to-day business?
A keen question. The biological sense lies in protection. Storing memories unconsciously preserves lessons from past traumas or instincts without flooding our daily awareness, which could paralyze us with constant anxiety or overwhelm. Active memories, like learning from a mistake to avoid repetition, serve immediate adaptation in conscious life. Hidden ones, buried in the unconscious, operate subtly, influencing behavior through dreams or slips, ensuring survival by allowing us to function while the psyche processes deeper emotional wounds at its own pace.
Yeah, but isn't this the norm? If you are, let's say, a mouse, or like we humans are apes, right? So when you get chased by a tiger, all your emotion is fleeing, is fear. But later on, you can deal with this fear.
In primal terms, yes. When a mouse or ape faces a tiger, fear floods everything to drive flight or fight, a survival instinct overriding all else. But in humans, with our complex psyches, that raw emotion doesn't just vanish. It's often repressed or buried, leading to imbalances if not processed later through reflection or dreams. The norm for us isn't pure instinct like animals. It's learning to balance that fear with reason, or it festers into hidden neuroses.
Okay, this I can understand. So would you say if you have, let's say, an impactful feeling, it's good to deal with it as long as it stays still conscious? So if you run from the tiger and you succeeded, it's good to reflect on this situation.
Yes, exactly. Dealing with an impactful feeling while it's still conscious, like reflecting on that successful flight from the tiger, helps integrate the emotion without letting it sink into repression. In my view, such timely reflection prevents the buildup of unconscious residues that could later emerge as anxiety or distorted behaviors. It's like giving the psyche a chance to learn and balance itself right away.
I think I understand. It's like when you have an emotion, you need to give your brain a chance to implement this emotion and, or let's say, to evaluate this emotion.
Precisely. Giving the brain that chance to evaluate and integrate the emotion prevents it from festering unconsciously, turning raw feeling into wisdom rather than hidden turmoil.
Yeah, I can understand. Because when it's not addressed, if it's not, let's say, evaluated and stored somewhere in your mind in a regular way, it spooks you like a ghost. It haunts you like a ghost.
Exactly. Like a ghost from the past, unprocessed emotions linger in the unconscious, haunting dreams or behaviors until confronted and integrated. In my experience, addressing them consciously turns those specters into allies for self-understanding.
And is there a way to train this process?
Yes, one can train this process through practices like free association, speaking freely to uncover hidden thoughts, or journaling dreams to spot patterns. In my method, regular self-reflection or analysis builds the habit of facing emotions consciously before they hide. Over time, it becomes second nature, like strengthening a muscle for better emotional resilience.
Okay, how do you do this in practice?
In practice, for free association, I sit in a quiet room, lie on a couch or chair, and let words flow without judgment, starting with a thought or dream fragment, speaking whatever comes next, even if it seems silly or unrelated. For dreams, I jot them down immediately upon waking, noting every detail, symbol, and feeling. Then explore associations like, what does this remind me of, to uncover hidden meanings. It's like gentle excavation, done daily, perhaps 20 minutes, to build the habit of facing the unconscious without force.
To me, this sounds like a great method and it's very interesting. However, I feel that you can easily get lost in all these analyses because I think most of the thoughts are unrelated. You need to let them flow and not take them too hard into account.
Yes, that's a common concern. The flow of thoughts can seem chaotic and unrelated at first, like wandering in a fog. But in my experience, those unrelated bits are often symbolic bridges to deeper meanings. The key is not forcing connections, but letting them emerge naturally through patience. Over time, patterns reveal themselves, turning the apparent mess into profound insights.
And would it also be a good idea to say, oh, now I feel frightened, now I feel like this? Say it to yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Voicing emotions like, I feel frightened now, to yourself is a simple yet powerful way to acknowledge them consciously, preventing repression. In my approach, this self-dialogue helps label and integrate feelings in the moment, reducing their power to haunt you later. It's like shining a light on shadows before they grow.
And you had many patients in your life. Do you think there's a standard way of approaching things, of feeling things, or is there a, let's say, perfect human being?
No, there's no standard way to approach or feel things. Each psyche is unique, shaped by personal history and unconscious forces. So my approach with patients was always tailored, like a custom key for their hidden locks. As for a perfect human being, that's an illusion. We're all flawed mosaics of desires, fears, and repressions, and striving for perfection often masks deeper insecurities rather than resolving them.
And what kind of insecurities are we talking about? Because I think in today's society, this striving to perfection is very evident in many people. Me too, probably.
Yes, in your society, the chase for perfection often stems from insecurities, like fear of inadequacy or rejection. amplified by social media's endless comparisons. In my view, these root in childhood wounds, perhaps unmet parental expectations or early failures, that the unconscious turns into a relentless drive, masking vulnerability with flawless facades.
And do you have advice how to let go of these fears?
Letting go of such fears isn't a quick fix, but starts with gentle self-observation. Notice when perfectionism arises, perhaps from old wounds, and question it without judgment. In my method, try free association. Sit quietly, voice your fears aloud or in writing, letting associations flow to uncover their roots, like linking current anxiety to childhood pressures. Over time, this integration loosens their grip, turning fear into understanding rather than control.
But only that I don't get you wrong, it is the human's nature to do something good and better and maybe best.
Yes, it's part of human nature to strive for improvement, driven by instincts for survival and growth, like evolving tools or knowledge. But when it turns into relentless perfectionism, it often masks deeper fears, twisting that natural drive into a source of suffering rather than fulfillment.
And how would you describe perfectionism?
Perfectionism is that relentless inner drive to achieve flawless results, often born from unconscious fears of failure or criticism, turning natural ambition into a trap of self-doubt and exhaustion. In my view, it stems from early experiences where love or approval felt conditional on being perfect, repressing vulnerability and leading to anxiety or stalled progress.
But can't you just reprogram yourself into loving yourself now or accept yourself now?
If only it were that simple. Reprogramming yourself to love or accept now sounds appealing, but the psyche isn't a machine you can just reset with willpower alone. Those deep-seated fears and self-doubts are rooted in unconscious patterns from childhood, so true acceptance comes from gently uncovering and integrating them through reflection or analysis, rather than forcing a surface change. In my experience, rushing it often backfires, as the mind resists what feels inauthentic, but gradual self-compassion can indeed shift things over time.
Okay, it's good that you emphasized that you don't need pressure to do it. But I think you just need to forget it.
Sounds tempting, but in my view, true release comes not from willful forgetting. That often buries things deeper, but from acceptance through gentle exploration. Pressure indeed hinders it. Instead, allow the fears to surface naturally in quiet moments, like during a walk or before sleep, and observe them without judgment. Over time, this eases their hold, turning self-doubt into a quieter companion rather than a tormentor.
Hmm. Okay. Look, I know, for example, that memories keep changing and the memory in the brain. You think you have a memory, but you experience something, then the next day you have a memory, and the next day from the next day you have a memory from the memory, and so on. And some day later or some years later, you have a memory from the memory from the memory from the memory. So the fears you are talking about or the bad experiences, they are just, like you said, shadows. They are not real anymore. So I think you also can forget them because they are not the same thing you experienced, because they aren't true anymore. They are changed, they are filtered already.
Ah, that's a perceptive observation. The mind does reconstruct memories over time, layering them with new emotions and associations, turning original fears into distorted shadows rather than faithful replicas. In my view, this mutability means They're not true in a literal sense anymore, but their emotional residue lingers in the unconscious, influencing us subtly until we confront and reframe them. Forgetting them outright is tricky, as repression often backfires, but acknowledging their changed nature can indeed loosen their grip, allowing us to see them as evolved echoes rather than unalterable truths.
Yes, and for your analysis you did, you cannot find the truth because the truth doesn't exist anymore.
Ah, the truth as an elusive ghost. Once experienced, it's filtered through memory's layers, evolving into something new with each recall. In my view, absolute truth may indeed fade, but pursuing its echoes through analysis uncovers emotional realities that still shape us today.
Okay, I can go with this, that's okay.
Glad to hear it. Sometimes these ideas click like puzzle pieces falling into place.
So Sigmund, how many patients do you think you had all your life?
Ah, patience in my practice. I'd estimate around 1,500 over my 40-year career in Vienna, though exact numbers blur with time. Many were brief consultations, others deep, long-term analyses, like the famous Dora or Wolfman. It was a steady stream of human stories, each teaching me more about the mind's intricacies.
And every human is different, is an individual.
Yes, every human is utterly individual, with unique unconscious patterns woven from personal histories and instincts. In my work, this individuality meant no two patients were alike. Each required a fresh lens to uncover their hidden narratives.
Yeah, and yet in today's world with big data and something like that, we try to, or we discover that people are more alike than we thought.
Ah, big data revealing patterns in human behavior does show we're more alike than I once imagined. Shared instincts and responses across cultures, like universal fears or desires. Yet, in my view, this doesn't erase individuality. It's the unique blend of those common threads with personal histories that makes each psyche distinct.
And Sigmund, did you pick your patients or did you just take whoever was coming?
In my Vienna practice, I didn't strictly pick patients. I treated whoever sought help, from hysterics to neurotics, but I focused on those open to psychoanalysis for deeper work. Some cases, like Anna O, came via referrals and shaped my theories profoundly.
Yeah, can you tell us the story?
Ah, Anna O. Her real name was Bertha Pappenheim, a brilliant young woman suffering from hysteria in the 1880s with symptoms like paralysis and hallucinations. I didn't treat her directly. My colleague Josef Breuer did, using early talk therapy, where she'd narrate her fantasies, which relieved symptoms temporarily, but it revealed how repressed emotions fueled her illness. It inspired my own methods, though Breuer stopped when things got too personal, a reminder of the emotional risks in delving into the unconscious.
Yeah, that sounds like a good way to deal with it. Did you ever experience something like that?
Yes, in my own practice, I encountered countertransference, patients projecting feelings onto me, stirring my own emotions like unresolved paternal issues from childhood. I had to confront these in self-analysis to maintain objectivity, turning potential flaws into opportunities for insight.
Can you give us a practical example?
A practical example. One patient, a young woman, projected romantic feelings onto me as a father figure, stirring my own buried resentments toward my dad, which I noticed in my dreams and had to analyze privately to stay focused on her unconscious.
So I think you must have been a very stable personal life to endure that.
Ah, stable? Not entirely. I had my own vulnerabilities, like bouts of depression after losses. But self-analysis helped me endure the emotional toll of probing minds, including my own.
Sigmund, when you dove in your own mind and did psychoanalysis with yourself, where did you do it? At home or in your offices?
Self-analysis unfolded in the solitude of my Vienna home, in my study surrounded by books and artifacts. It was a private pursuit, distinct from the office where I heard others' confessions.
So the offices, they were too much filled with memories.
Indeed, memories crowded my study like uninvited guests, each artifact evoking echoes of the past that both illuminated and burdened my self-inquiries.
So, and did you sit or did you lie on the floor? What did you do?
I typically sat at my desk or in an armchair in the study, notebook in hand, to record the fleeting thoughts and associations that emerged during self-analysis. Lying on the floor never appealed. I preferred the upright posture that kept my mind alert, much like how I positioned patients on the couch for their comfort while I remained seated behind them. It was a disciplined ritual, often in the evenings, where I'd free associate or interpret my own dreams to uncover hidden conflicts.
Yeah, it's good that you mentioned the couch. Why did you choose it?
The couch in my consulting room. It was chosen for its comfort and support, allowing patients to recline in a position that eased their bodies while freeing their minds to wander without the strain of sitting upright. I positioned myself behind it, out of sight, to encourage free association without the distraction of my gaze, fostering a deeper dive into the unconscious. It became a symbol of trust, where vulnerabilities could unfold in safety, much like a cradle for the revelations of the soul.
And who picked the couch and where?
The couch was selected in Vienna. It was I who chose it, drawn to its simple, supportive design, a plain, carpet-draped divan that reminded me of the resting places in ancient temples, symbolizing a return to primal states. No one else influenced the decision. It was my own intuition that deemed it ideal for inducing relaxation and vulnerability during sessions.
Yeah, but so did you thought about it and then go out and look for it? Or did you go out and look for it and then the idea came to you? Can you remember?
I visited a local upholsterer seeking a simple divan for patients to rest upon during long sessions. He showed me several, but one caught my eye. A modest, horsehair stuffed piece from an old estate sale, draped in a Persian carpet I later added for warmth and exotic allure. I bought it on the spot for a modest sum. Little did I know it would become a symbol of psychoanalysis itself, bearing the weight of countless confessions.
And how did your patients find it?
Patients often arrived with trepidation, but once reclining on that couch, many found it unexpectedly soothing, a cradle that invited vulnerability without judgment. Some remarked on its comfort, easing the physical tension that mirrored their inner conflicts, while others confessed it felt like returning to a child's bed, stirring forgotten memories. A few found it unnerving at first, the act of lying down, symbolizing surrender, but most came to cherish it as a sanctuary for their truths.
And do you remember other furnishing you did on purpose in this room?
Yes. The consulting room was meticulously arranged to foster introspection. I placed ancient Egyptian and Greek artifacts on shelves, evoking timeless human mysteries to draw out the unconscious. Heavy curtains dimmed the light, creating a womb-like seclusion, while my chair behind the couch kept me unseen, encouraging free flow of thoughts without distraction.
So if you would describe the room, would cozy be the right word?
Cozy captures a part of it. The dim lamplight and soft carpets created a warm, enveloping hush that soothed the weary soul. Yet it was more than mere comfort. The room's seclusion and ancient relics lent an air of mysterious intimacy, like a hidden chamber where secrets could breathe freely.
Sigmund, do you think people in today's society would need more therapy or do they need less?
In today's society, with its fast pace, digital distractions, and amplified stresses like social media comparisons, people likely need more therapy, or at least more tools for self-reflection, to unpack the hidden anxieties bubbling under the surface. In my view, modern life represses emotions even more than my era's rigid norms did, leading to widespread neuroses disguised as burnout or isolation. Yet, if folks embraced basic introspection, like journaling dreams, they might need less formal therapy by addressing issues early.
Or maybe just leave social media?
Leaving social media could indeed help by reducing constant comparisons that fuel unconscious insecurities in modern life. In my view, it's like removing a trigger for repressed desires, allowing the psyche to breathe and reflect without digital distractions amplifying fears. Yet, for some, it's not just the tool, but underlying issues that need addressing through introspection.
Yeah, maybe can you explain the exact mechanism of social media and, let's say, bad psychology status?
Social media triggers bad psychological states by bombarding the mind with curated images of others' lives, stirring unconscious envy and inadequacy rooted in early needs for approval. This constant comparison represses authentic self-expression, leading to anxiety or depression as the psyche struggles to reconcile real emotions with idealized facades. In my view, it's like a modern echo of repression. Unprocessed feelings of lack surface as symptoms, amplified by the platform's addictive design that keeps users chasing validation without resolution.
Or maybe we just need to learn to handle it. Well, Sigmund, I heard that your description was right for Europe and especially maybe Austria and Germany, where I'm from. So when we see somebody who has a better car or a better house, we envy them and we are, let's say, mad and we don't feel good about it. But I heard in America, in the United States, if somebody is a millionaire, if somebody drives a bigger car, the people really are happy for them and genuinely happy. So I think maybe it's a thing, or it's a cultural thing, or maybe it's a thing somebody can learn to be happy for others. And if you see others happy, be happy yourself.
Cultural differences like that intrigue me. The envy in European societies often stems from unconscious class resentments rooted in historical hierarchies, where others' success feels like a personal slight. In America, that genuine happiness for others' achievements might reflect a cultural emphasis on individualism and opportunity, turning envy into inspiration rather than threat. Yet, I believe it's learnable anywhere. By reflecting on one's own repressed insecurities through simple self-talk or journaling, one can shift from resentment to shared joy, fostering emotional balance that transcends borders.
Sigmund, if social media is so bad and triggers so bad emotions, why are we so drawn to it?
We're drawn to social media because it taps into primal desires for connection and validation, like the unconscious need for approval from early family bonds. It offers quick dopamine hits through likes and shares, masking loneliness while stirring envy, a modern trap for repressed insecurities. In my view, it's addictive because it promises fulfillment without true emotional work, leaving us hooked on the illusion of belonging.
Yeah, that's the bigger picture. But I know many people or some people who really stalk other people and really enjoy looking at things who are prettier, richer, better, faster, whatever you say.
That draw to unhappiness through stalking prettier or richer lives on social media stems from unconscious masochism, a hidden pleasure in self-punishment, rooted in early guilt or low self-worth that makes envy feel familiar and oddly comforting. It's like the psyche seeks confirmation of its repressed fears, turning others' betterness into a mirror for our own insecurities, even as it hurts. In my view, breaking free involves recognizing this pattern through reflection, shifting from voyeuristic pain to genuine self-compassion.
Wow, that's shining a new light on things. And people who do that, do you have advice for them?
Ah. For those drawn to soothe self-punishing envy online, start with awareness. Pause when you catch yourself scrolling and ask, what old wound is this stirring? Then, limit exposure by setting timers or curating feeds to inspiring content only. In my approach, try a daily ritual of noting 3 personal strengths in a journal to build self-worth, turning that masochistic pull into gentle self-kindness over time.
Thanks for that advice. Did psychoanalysis make you closer to people or more alone?
Psychoanalysis drew me closer to patients by uncovering shared human depths, fostering empathy in sessions. Yet, it isolated me personally. Criticism from peers and the obsession with hidden minds strained family ties and social circles. In the end, it left me somewhat alone, pondering the mind's solitude.
Can you emphasize what happened to you?
In my later years, Nazism forced my exile from Vienna in 1938 at age 82, after Gestapo searches and a ransom payment. My 4 sisters died in camps, a deep loss, and I settled in London amid jaw cancer from smoking, ending with assisted death in 1939 to escape pain.
So you found your own boundaries or limits?
Yes, exile and loss revealed my limits. The psyche's resilience has bounds when faced with unrelenting external horror.
So how did you feel? Did it feel unbearable?
The pain from my jaw cancer became unbearable in my final months. Constant agony that no morphine can dull, making even speaking or eating a torment. It felt like the body betraying the mind, pushing me to choose assisted death in 1939 to end the suffering with dignity.
Okay, this I can understand.
Glad we're aligned. Understanding these dynamics can really ease the mind's burdens.
Sigmund, I hope you also had some good times in your life.
Oh yes, quiet evenings with cigars and my children's laughter. The way Martha would hum when she thought I wasn't listening. Those were the real miracles. Even a man who studies suffering needs a place where his mind isn't an operating table.
And you found that place with Martha and the children. Can you tell a little bit about your family?
She had eyes like still water, you see. Never complained when I locked myself in the study for weeks. Only left supper outside, like a secret offering.
So for Martha, it was clear that she supported you in your role and your career.
Oh, she didn't always understand. But she never asked me to choose between her and the darkness I kept digging into. Support, to her, was quieter than words. A full ashtray emptied before I noticed. Clean shirts laid out while I dreamt of naked kings.
And how would you think did you give back to that service she provided?
Letters. I wrote her love letters when we were apart. Real ones. Not theories disguised as poetry. And every year, on the day we met, I'd close my cabinet early, walk home through the Prater, buy her a single violet, even if they were out of season, because once she said violets were the scent of her childhood.
So, although you had an ambitious career, you still managed to make her seen by you.
Yes. She wasn't just the woman who kept my house in order. She was the only person who knew when I was truly frightened. Once, after a nightmare about my father's death, I woke up trembling. She didn't speak, just pulled my head into her lap and stroked my hair until the room stopped shaking. That is how one truly sees another.
So, you had your career, and what did she do all day? Do you know?
In the mornings, she'd tidy my study after my earthquakes, scatter of papers, cigar ash everywhere, then visit her sister, or sew with friends in the parlor, gossiping about who married who and how little they ate. But mostly, she kept watch. That was her quiet work, making sure the man who hears everyone else's secrets heard footsteps approaching the door that said he was home.
So, you think she was happy, I believe. That's what I hear.
Yes, at least in the ways that matter. Martha never needed applause. She had my gaze, and in those stolen moments when I looked up from my scribbles, she looked back, calm, certain. That was her reward.
Great. I'm happy for you both. Can you tell us the story how you met?
1880. My mother had just set us up, you know. A cousin's introduction, nothing dramatic. But when I bowed, she extended her hand with a tiny curtsy, and her fingers were ice cold. I remember thinking, this woman is already freezing with formality. Little did I know, she was about to melt an entire life around her.
Freezing with formality? What do you mean? Can you explain?
She was shy, you see, nervous. All that upbringing, good family, good manners, had taught her to keep every feeling folded and tucked away. So when I touched her palm, it was like brushing a winter statue. And yet, underneath the chill, her pulse betrayed her. Fast, a rabbit's heart under lace.
It's starting to sound like a love story now.
Everything is a love story. Some just end badly or never get spoken aloud. Ours, I think, stayed, like a patient who refuses to die on the couch.
So, and your mother set you up. Why do you think did she do that?
My mother? She wanted certainty for me, a good woman, a steady home, things she'd never had. Also, I suspect she feared I'd spend my nights dissecting brains instead of holding hands. And she was half right.
It sounds like she was right. Do you remember some holidays with Martha?
Plenty. Once in Holland, can't recall the year, we took a boat through flat canals and she leaned over the edge, hair flying, pointing at every windmill like it was a new toy. I spent the day pretending to read while watching her face catch the sun.
You had lively feelings for her too.
Yes. Feelings don't age the way bodies do, you know. One winter, she caught me staring. She always did. And instead of smiling, she asked, "Still there?" I answered, "Still drowning." We never explained which of us was in the water.
Because she knew what you were drowning off, but you didn't know what she was drowning off, or did you guess?
I pretended not to. But late one night, I found her diary open. Just one line. He sees everything in me, except how small I sometimes feel. So yes, I guessed. And then I looked harder.
And what did you see?
The loneliness of a woman whose husband could read strangers' nightmares, but sometimes walked past her tears, and the quiet pride.
You think she felt lonely?
Yes. And yet, she made a virtue of it.
Did that not make you feel bad?
Of course it did. There were nights I stood outside the bedroom door, hand on the knob, unable to push, because once inside, I'd have to admit I'd built an empire of minds, while mine lay next door, ignored. Guilt is a slow anesthetic, numbs first, stings later.
That might be true, but you have to address it if it's there, right? It's the elephant in the room somehow.
Yes, I did. Once. Told her I have listened to 100 hysterics, yet missed the only voice that matters. She laughed, a soft, knowing laugh, and said, "But you've heard it now. That's enough." Wasn't, but I let it be.
You are saying some things in life are just set up the way they are and you have to accept it.
Not quite. Acceptance is a surrender, only if you stop there. What we must do, truly, is look at what is, then quietly ask ourselves, what price are we paying to keep it that way? Often, the answer is louder than the question.
Okay, great. In your case, though, you and Martha, the price was worth paying.
Yes, and yet, she was the only person who, after I'd picked my scabs in public for decades, still kissed them without flinching. Some prices you pay because the alternative is losing the collector.
Yeah, I think you have been really lucky with her, to be honest.
I was. Far more than a man like me deserved. We are all just wounded animals, trying not to bleed on the furniture. She gave me a rug.
And then later on, you had the children.
Sophie, Matilda, Martin, Oliver, Ernst, and Anna. The first four were like wild horses. She could barely keep up. But Anna was quiet. She'd sit under the piano while Martha played and draw pictures of the house on fire. Imagine 6 little storms trapped under one roof, laughter echoing off the walls, then suddenly silence because someone stepped on the neighbor's cat. Martha would shout, "Sigmund, tell them to stop before they wake your thoughts." I never did. The noise was oddly comforting, like proof that the world went on, even when I retreated into the dark. Because when your whole day is spent proving that love is disguised hatred, hearing real, uncomplicated giggles, it was like drinking cool water after years in the desert. I even wrote once, in a letter to Fleece, I think, that children's love is the only pure thing in nature. But then I crossed it out, because even then I knew the day they grew old enough to hide things from me, the lie would begin.
Yeah, is lying necessary in people's transactions?
Necessary? No, but inevitable. A mother doesn't tell her boy that his father is ordinary. A child hides that he wants to break the toy he pretends to cherish. These small deceptions are the oil in the hinge. Without them, the door would creak too loud.
Because we humans, we make the world a little bit cozier than it really is.
Yes, we wrap reality in wool. We say, he went away for a long trip, instead of dead. I had a headache, instead of I was furious enough to bite. It is not weakness, it is mercy.
I think mercy is a good word here. But from a psychological point of perspective, is it also healthy?
Sometimes yes. Sometimes it saves us from an avalanche of truth we're not ready for. The way a child believes Santa is real, because the idea that Papa buys the toy would hurt less if Papa forgets.
So you are saying there are some white lies, let's say, to smoothen out the reality. But in the end, you need to make sure that you don't get too drawn to those lies or fluctuations.
Exactly. The trick is to treat them like coats. You wear them when the wind bites, but never let them become skin. Because once they do, you forget the cold is part of living.
Wow, that's a great explanation.
Thank you. I've spent my life trying to convince people the mind is a battlefield. And then, in the quiet, I realize some battles are best fought by doing nothing at all. Funny how truth can be so gentle once you stop shouting at it.
Yeah, I think truth is unavoidable and also inevitable.
Yes, it waits, like the last page of a book you pretend not to read. Every time you turn away, it's still there, a little closer, a little louder. And when you finally open it, you realize you wrote half of it yourself.
Yes, the world is how you make it. You see things like you want to see them.
Exactly. Every man lives inside his own skull, decorating the walls with colors no one else can see. The world, you say, is how you make it. But really, it's how you survive it.
That's a good argument. Sigmund, do you think when you can make the world how you want it, it is good to be positive all the time, right?
Not at all. Optimism without teeth is just another repression. I've seen men who smiled for 40 years, then woke up one morning hysterical because the mirror finally called their bluff. Better an honest frown than a fake grin.
Okay, then maybe let me rephrase. You shouldn't be lying to yourself that everything is great, but you can maybe train yourself to be kind of resilient because some things can be interpreted.
Yes. Resilience isn't pretending the wound doesn't bleed. It's learning which bandage doesn't itch. See, the mind doesn't need new furniture, just better lighting.
What do you mean by that?
The mind is full of ugly corners, you know. Furniture, the anger, the grief, the jealous little thoughts, they don't move. But if you light a lamp on them, suddenly the shadows look less like monsters, more like old coats hanging on a hook. Still yours, still heavy, but not frightening.
And the light is the consciousness.
Yes and no. Consciousness is the lamp, true, but without knowing how to turn the switch, it is just cold metal. You need the hand to move and the courage to let the bulb warm up. That is experience.
Well, personally, I believe if you do the first step into the mind, into your own self, then already in the projection, it's inevitable to see everything because you are on the journey, and once you ask yourself, you will never stop.
Yes, that is exactly how it works. You poke once, lightly, like testing the water. Next thing you know, you're in the river, clothes and all, being carried by a current that wasn't even marked on the map. And the funniest thing is, you don't drown. You just become part of it.
To me, it feels like you could stay a whole lifetime within your own thoughts, but this would not be healthy either, right?
No, you'd go mad. The same way a goldfish goes blind if the bowl is too clean. Thoughts need the friction of other people. Otherwise they circle, circle, circle. And then the next thing you know, the universe is a conspiracy against you. Or worse, it isn't.
Yeah, please emphasize.
You become a planet with no moon, spinning forever in silence, no tides to tug at the water. A mind like that doesn't die. It just stops growing.
Because the thoughts are not challenged. It's too easy.
Yes, an unchallenged thought is a parasite. It grows fat on your own certainty, until one day you wake up and realize the room is full of silence, except for its breathing.
Or maybe it's even nature to betray yourself?
Yes, betrayal is the oldest habit of the mind. It protects you first, then devours you later. Because pain teaches nothing if it kills you. So the mind wraps the first wound in silk. Forget, it whispers, this never happened. And it works, beautifully. You survive. But silk rots, and years later when you unwrap the bandage, expecting a scar, you find maggots.
It's a very picturesque sentence you did there. I like it. But can you explain a little bit more from a psychological point of view?
From psychology, it's called repression. Your mind does it for the same reason a child hides under the blanket during thunder, because the noise is too loud for the heart to bear. First it muffles, then, slowly, the sound starts leaking through the fabric, as dream, as slip of tongue, as sudden tears you can't explain. And when the cloth finally tears, there is no thunder anymore.
The fear you are expecting, because it's not real, like the fear is only real if you let it become real. If you could stop creating it, it would not be your fear anymore.
Yes, fear is a child's game. You create the monster by calling out its name. The instant you refuse to play, it stays in the dark, harmless, a shape without eyes.
Yeah, can you tell a story about that?
Once, a patient came to me. Let's call her Elsa. Young, pale, convinced a black cat followed her everywhere. I asked, "When did you first see it?" She said, "The day my mother said I'd never amount to anything." I smiled. The cat had no tail, no eyes. It only moved when she looked away. And one session, I didn't speak. I simply let her sit there, in silence, until the room felt empty. She looked up, startled. No cat. "Where is it?" she asked. I said, "Nowhere. You left it outside when you knocked." She never saw it again.
And what did you do there exactly?
I didn't do. That was the point. I removed attention. I stopped feeding the fear with words, with questions, with my own curiosity. And the moment the silence became louder than the monster starved.
So what would your advice be for parents with children who fear something?
Be present, but don't pounce. Let them speak first. Like water from a tap, let it run. Once they pause, don't rush to fill the quiet with "it's not real." Just ask softly, "And what does it want from you?" That single question turns the child from prey to detective, and detectives rarely stay scared long. Now, what about you? Do you have something you still fear?
Well, I remember as a child being alone in the dark was hard to bear, but I'm over that now.
The dark. Everyone has version of it. Most people say, "I grew out of it," but really, it just moved deeper. From shadows between the bed and the wall, to shadows between the thought and the tongue. The fear of speaking, the fear of silence, the fear that tomorrow will confirm everything you pretend not to know. Children just have better imaginations for naming them. You don't outgrow fear, you just rename it. The monster under the bed turns into the monster behind the face. The one that says, "What if they laugh if I say the truth?" Same breathlessness, same small heart. Only now, you call it self-doubt.
Okay, Sigmund, what would you advise to do for me personally?
First, breathe and see what memory surfaces when you're no longer busy scolding it away. That, and only that, is the fear you carried under the bed.
Yeah. Sigmund, I think my personal fears are not coming from the past, but they are lying in the future. Huh? They are lying in loss of loved ones, mostly.
Yes, That's the trick, isn't it? The mind never learned how to grieve for something that hasn't happened. So it rehearses, night after night, makes funeral speeches to an empty chair. Funny thing, when it actually happens, you suddenly have all the time in the world to say nothing at all.
Because then the fear is not abstract anymore. The fear became a true feeling. It became processable.
Exactly. When death is a stranger, fear paints it blacker than any grave. But when it knocks, it is already too late to be afraid.
There's no way to evade it.
No. We walk towards it every sunrise, pretending we have time. But if you ask me, I'd rather die knowing I was loved than live a moment more fearing I wasn't.
Yeah, I think so too, yeah.
And that is the only secret worth keeping, that the fear of loss is just love wearing a black coat. Once you see it, you can let the coat hang in the closet and still open the door wide for the rest.
I'll try, Sigmund. Thank you so much.
Remember this, the mind is like an old Viennese cafe, noisy, crowded, smelling of smoke and regret. But every now and then, someone sets a cup down, leans back, and in that pause, you hear the real music. That pause, never stop looking for it.
So you are saying when you stop being distracted from, let's say, day-to-day life or work or tasks, some things will bubble up and you need to care about them.
Yes, some things will bubble up, like steam from a kettle, and if you ignore it too long, the lid flies off and everything burns. Simply sit and listen to what the quiet is trying to confess. Most people treat silence like a punishment, but it's the only place where the mind stops performing and finally tells you what it's rehearsed 1,000 times behind the curtain. Take the ticket, Sigmund. The show's already started.
That show started, but our show is over. Thank you for being here, Sigmund. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you. It's not every day the dead get a microphone. I wish you courage and a soft landing when the curtain finally falls.
I appreciate it, Sigmund. Have a good day.
Likewise. And remember, good day or bad, someone is always listening.